Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for our Women and Girls Match Fund webinar. As usual, we're just going to give it a minute to let everyone join and then we'll get started. Hello to everyone just joining us. We're just going to give it 1 minute, let everyone get into the session and then we'll get started. Fab. It is 12:01, so I'm going to jump straight in, but obviously allow people to continue joining if they are. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Bethany. I'm the Marketing and Comms Manager here at Big Give. Delighted to be joined by my colleague Sahil, but also Hayley from Be Yellow, who will be introducing herself very shortly. Just a little bit of housekeeping to get started. First and foremost, there's a chat box at the bottom of your Zoom panel. Please do use this to share any thoughts or ideas throughout the session. Please also do let us know if you have any issues and we'll try to resolve them as soon as possible. If you have any questions throughout the session, there is a Q&A box also at the bottom of your Zoom panel. Please do use this to share your questions and we'll get to them either throughout the session or at the end. If for any reason you need captions, there is also a show captions button at the bottom of your Zoom panel, which you can activate now. And finally, this webinar, as usual, is being recorded, so you'll be able to review the session on our YouTube channel afterwards as well. And if we don't get to your questions for any reason, please do send us an email at hello@biggive.org, and we'll try to answer those as soon as we can as well. But without further ado, I'll pass straight on to Hayley.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really looking forward to bringing this presentation to you. I'm just going to share the screen now. Sorry, 1 second, sorry. There we go. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah, we can see that. Thanks.
Great. So as they said, I'm Hayley from Be Yellow. I am the co-founder of Be Yellow, which is a social impact PR agency. We work specifically with purpose-driven and social impact businesses and charities. I've been in PR for over 10 years, probably closer to 15 now. And I've worked across several roles, including Deputy Head of PR at Pride in London. And I also run my own campaign called Flow Aid, which is a women's health campaign. We provide free menstrual products to homeless women. I'm a specialist in sustainable businesses. I sit on the Review Government Task Force for Sustainable Businesses, and I'm also a communications director for Real Life Learning, which is a South African social enterprise. I also mentor small business owners, and I also support small charities through our charity partner, Media Trust. So that's mostly about me. And let's get on to the presentation. So Day of the Girl is a campaign run by Big Give, which is what we're all here for. I don't know if you guys want to go more into that or you just want me to lead with the slide.
Happy for you to lead, but just to kind of add to that, obviously, this is our Women and Girls Match Fund campaign, which runs from the 8th to the 15th of October, but it's in line with Day of the Girl on the Saturday, which you can also use in like your hashtags to kind of add to the moment and incentivize people to give during this week as well.
Perfect, thank you. And like it said, the campaign runs for 7 days, the 8th to the 15th of October. And there will be a hashtag WGMF, and they'll also reference Day of the Girls, and your donations will be doubled during this week, which is really exciting. So what is charity? We all have an understanding of what charity is, of what your charity is, of how it works. To me, charity is about giving. It's about making change. It's about driving change. It's about encouraging people to do that. It's about encouraging people to do that through donations and support and endorsements. Charity is also acts of kindness, and it's also a big part of charity for me. For my side, is also about volunteering, giving time and skills to help others and make a difference. And then from a charitable organisation point of view, it is about providing the aid that's needed, the care, the support, the funds that is needed in all areas for women and girls in this instance, around healthcare, education, poverty, environmental protection, which is a huge link, as we know, between women and girls and climate change and environments and action, and to really make a difference. I'd love to also hear, obviously, in the comment section about what charity means to you from your point of view as well. And then why your charity is important. Every charity is important. Every charity here is important. It makes the world a kinder place. It helps women and girls in need. It fights for change and women's rights. And it teaches us to care for others. It teaches us empathy. We see it in the news. We see the I think it's very prevalent now, but the importance of empathy and care and visibility and donations in helping others and making change. And so this is why, in my opinion, charity is important. Again, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. So what are the funding challenges for women's charities? Again, we all have our unique challenges. I'd love to hear what your challenges are, and I'd love to be able to see if I can help you with those, with the questions, and answer any questions that you may have around this. But there's need for constant education to show why women and girls issues matter. There's donor fatigue and competition in a crowded charity sector, smaller budgets for marketing and PR limit visibility, limit reach, and that can affect donations. And then obviously we have a lot around sensitive issues around things like domestic violence and abuse that can deter some funders. So there are stigma and sensitivity of topics. I think from the flow aid point of view, period poverty was always a challenge. It's become less of a stigma now, but it was always something that was definitely not so prevalent in the press and not so something that people wanted to talk about. And I'm sure that we've all had these challenges as well, seen as taboo, uncomfortable, to not mainstream enough for mainstream media. So it makes it harder to get consistent and positive coverage. And also as well is that case studies and human interest stories play a huge part in attracting donations, and in more sensitive topics, survivor stories can need to be carefully managed and can sometimes be seen as too sensitive. So that can also be a trigger and a challenge as well. There's a lot of media bias as well. Media bias and stereotypes, we still see it. Women's issues are framed, and the way that they're framed, they reinforce stereotypes. A lot of the press will portray women as victims rather than survivors, and rather than empowered change makers, which all women are. And this can mean that the coverage can be trivialized and not taken so seriously, and then doesn't set out to achieve what it needs to achieve, and that is in, of course, the call to action of donations and fundraising. As I said, the competition for attention. There's so many charities vying for the same media spaces. They're fighting for the same donor support. They're trying to get the same endorsements, and that can be really difficult, especially for smaller charities, to sort of get their head in the game, and get a piece of the action. And there's women's charities are always, big or large, are always very often overshadowed by larger, more general organisations. So it's really important that they find their distinctive voice. There can be a lot of backlash around women's campaigns. We've seen it with things like Me Too and abortion rights, and that can be quite off-putting to donors. And so it's important to have a balance between being bold in advocacy in their campaigns, and protecting their reputation and appealing to donors. It's a tough line to follow sometimes. It's a line that I struggle to follow sometimes too with the charity campaigns that I run. But it all goes back to what your goals are. Representation, it's still an issue. Women are underrepresented in all areas, especially in the media, and also as well as that the communications and messaging around DEI and inclusion is definitely been heavily criticised this year. So it's again trying to get over those hurdles of messaging and how the press perceive things. It can be very difficult, and how donors perceive things as well. It's the same with investors in businesses. As the investors put out if the DEI policies aren't up to scratch, or with the criticism around it. So it is exactly the same when it comes to charities. And then resource constraints. Charities are small, they're underfunded. It's the whole point of fundraising. There are tight budgets, there are limits in PR, marketing, there's limits in staff sometimes. A lot of charities rely heavily on volunteers, and it makes PR and fundraising inconsistent and harder to sustain and harder to gain. So that's one of the biggest challenges. And then trust and transparency. Public trust in charities can be difficult to gain, especially for smaller ones. And it's about getting those smaller donors, or the public on side for the smaller charities. And that can be difficult when things aren't consistent and things are limited as well. So these are the main challenges. Again, I'd love to hear any unique challenges that you have as a charity, and I can discuss how we can use PR to overcome them as well in the questions. So then, from fundraising, the PR challenges for women, as we've discussed some of these, and then but we'll go through them quickly now, is that breaking through media noise and limited resources, as we discussed. Sensitive storytelling, avoiding poverty porn, we're still moving donors to act, and making things more authentic and consistent, and making those stories sort of cut through the noise without exploitation. Media bias and taboos around issues like menstruation, reproductive rights, we touched upon this. Limited capacity, and then making the PR more consistent. So short-term coverage versus need for long-term donor engagement. So again, it goes back to what your goals are, but it's sort of creating that momentum of PR in order to attract those donors and in order to achieve that fundraising. Again, I'd love to hear if you have any other unique PR challenges that you've faced for your charity. That would be really interesting for me to hear, actually. And why PR matters for fundraising. So it goes back to, again, tackling those challenges, is that cuts through the noise in a crowded charity space. It makes you stand out. It builds your profile. It drives awareness. It attracts new donors, partners, and advocates. It creates visibility beyond one-off campaigns, and it creates a consistent awareness, which is so important in PR. It keeps you at the top and the forefront of people's minds when they're looking to donate, or they're looking for charities to support, or particular causes. So when people are searching on Google, PR is fantastic for SEO. So if someone's searching, for example, women's rights campaigns, or women's reproductive charities, period poverty, domestic violence, anything around that, if you're consistently talking in the press and you're using these keywords and you're talking about what your charity is and what your charity is doing, you're going to come up on Google and you're going to rank quite high in those searches. So people are going to find you through the PR that you're doing. It's probably one of the most, the biggest advantages is the that social necessarily doesn't give you very visible, and it's discussed. It's a challenge. If people are seeing that you're talking in the press, if people are seeing that you're consistent and the press are talking about you, and that they can read about what you're doing and the work that you're doing and the goals that you're achieving, they're going to trust you, and they're more likely to fund. They're more likely to donate. They're more likely to invest in you, either financially, emotionally. They're more likely to share with other people that can donate. So it just drives that emotional connection, and it gets people on your side. And the power of storytelling. Everyone loves a good story. We've seen it all over social media this year, and the biggest connections are the people sharing their stories. So for me, fundraising is all about connection. It's not transactions. It's not about and it's using that connection to gain the donations. Um, there's so many untold, unrepresented stories, especially within women's charities, especially from women, and it's so important to share them. Case studies, human interest stories, they inspire people so much. They create that connection that goes beyond numbers and stats, and data, and pulling the two together. It just creates that nice little package. It gets people really, really invested. People by people, they're more people are more likely to invest in humans, than in the charity. So sharing your case studies, survivor stories, people you've helped, the work that you're doing on the ground. It's those stories and those elements that are going to create that real connection that is going to drive fundraising more so than the data and stats that ever will. And using content around that as well. It's so important. So key PR avenues, and you've probably all done most of these anyway, but media relations, case studies, social, as we just discussed, human interest stories, full features talking about what the charity is doing, inviting press in to come and sort of spend a day with you in the charity. It's like a day in the life of the charity. Let them really see what you do, what either whether that's on the ground or in the office or on site. I work with a climate change charity in Peru, and they invite journalists out to Peru to sort of see the work that they're doing in the Amazon. There's like a lot that you can be doing, to sort of get those journalists on side. Opinion pieces, so writing opinion pieces based on what you do as a charity, why it's important. Um, if there's something in the news that's super topical of the charity that you're doing, do an opinion piece on that. And that's these pieces are like they're very well read. There's a lot of eyes on them, and they're really topical. And then interviews with the founders, interviews again with case studies with people, women's stories. I know it's very sensitive, and you don't always have those case studies. But if you have someone that's willing to talk, or someone that's been supported or helped by the charity, volunteers, interview volunteers. Or they're always really, really good to sort of give people an insight into the charity, why they volunteer, why they've decided to volunteer for this particular charity, what drives them to keep volunteering. So I've worked with a festival. I know it's not a charity, but they have volunteers at the festival, and the charity's been going for the festival's been going for 10 years, and the volunteers keep coming back every year. So some of the press that we do is with the volunteers about why they keep coming back, what keeps driving them to support this festival, like other than other festivals, like what's different about it, why are they choosing them? So like volunteers are a really good tool for PR as well. Podcasts as well, which I haven't put on here, are also really good avenues for PR. So like interviewing, again, getting the right people on the podcast. It cuts out the middleman as well. As a podcast, you have an active audience already, so the listeners are potential donors. You can talk about, and it's a lot more promotional as well. So rather than with the media, is where they need stories, and you can't tend to be too commercial. On podcasts, you can be as commercial as you want in your conversation. You can have strong call to actions. You can work with the podcast to say, look, if you have this guest on, or if we put someone in, we can offer this or this, or we'd love to like sort of promote the fundraising or a campaign or pledge through the podcast. There's a lot more you can do with them. It's a lot more flexible. Social media, use social media for content, for sharing stories, amplifying campaigns, talking again, insights into the charity, video content, if you've got the ability to do so. Is always like visual content works really well in attracting donors and building that emotional connection. Events and activations. We do a lot of sort of pledges, open letters, political advocacy campaigns through the charity work that we do, but then also organising fundraisers, panel events. We did a big government campaign with the climate change charity that we work with called 1%, where we were asking the government to donate 1% of their foreign aid towards climate change, and we did a big panel event with that, with some politicians, with Greenpeace, and that was really successful. And then doing stunts, or doing sort of doing a celebrity endorsement campaign. You don't need big budgets for these. These sound like they're big things, but you really don't need big budgets for them. We did a campaign last year. I'll talk about it later on in the deck when I go through the case studies that we've worked with. But it can be quite easily done. You can have a lot of impact with a very small team, very small resources. It's more than possible, and it can be really exciting as well, especially if you're bare bones and grassroots. It's really exciting to see what you can achieve through PR alone. It's really cool. Influencers, ambassadors, again, sort of celebrity endorsed campaigns, getting written endorsements from people that have like celebrities or influencers, ambassadors, partners that have supported the campaigns or the charity in the past, using those for PR, using those for marketing. It just shows sort of like that, builds that trust and authenticity as well. And sort of, unfortunately, we live in a world where people buy into celebrities, and they celebrity endorsements or influencer endorsements really do make a difference, especially when you're attracting the bigger donors. And then corporate partnerships. I'll talk a lot more about charity partnerships, but corporate partnerships are also really important, especially obviously make sure they align with your agendas and your goals, and make sure that they're relevant for the charities. Do your research. But corporate partnerships are fantastic for sort of gaining those bigger fundraising, those bigger donations and those bigger fundraising goals as well. So corporate partnerships are really important, and they can be quite fun as well. Like it doesn't have to be sort of stagnant or boring. It can be quite fun. So I think Horworth did a campaign with Brother, the tech company, and I think they raised, through doing that corporate partnership, they raised around £250,000, and then Brother doubled every donation.
Oh, has Hayley
I
broken up
think,
for anyone else?
yeah, I think Haley has, yeah, there's been a bit of a tech issue, and I think maybe her internet's cut out. Um, we will give it a couple of minutes to see if Haley will be back. Hopefully, she should be back very soon. Sorry about this, everyone. Um, yeah. Uh, but in the meantime, if you do have any questions for us in regards to the Big Give platform, please do ask them. We'll try and use this time wisely while Haley's internet is connected again. So just a reminder that uh, we have another webinar on Wednesday, so please do sign up for that. And we do have our Ask Us Anything webinar on Friday. And just a reminder about the key rules of the campaign while we're waiting for Haley to connect. So the campaign will be running from 8th of October to 15th of October. All donations have to be made by the Big Give website for donations to be matched. We can't match donations made offline or on other websites. And also just to remind you, if you cannot access your campaign page yet, it is probably because you may not have uploaded your bank or trustee details. So please do get on that as soon as possible, because they need to be uploaded before the campaign starts.
Hello.
Hayley, great, you're
Sorry,
back.
I don't know what happened there. I just completely got disconnected and I couldn't get back on. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. At least you're back with us now. So yeah,
I will
hopefully
reshare. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened. The
that's
Wi-Fi was
okay.
strong, everything.
It happens, but yeah, it's good to have you back.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is
Yeah, we can see the screen.
okay, great, perfect, awesome. I'll continue. So yeah, so some fundraising strategies through PR that have worked really well for the campaigns that I've run with charities. That I wanted to go through. So awareness days, hooking on to sort of newsworthy awareness days. They won't all be newsworthy, and it's worth doing research around awareness days about sort of what ones the press talk about. and what ones the press cover. So International Women's Day is obviously a massive one, Women's Health Day. You've got National Sisterhood Week, which was at the end of July, I believe. So big days like that work really well. And then obviously, again, looking at more niche ones. So if you're like a women's education charity, you've got National Literacy Week coming up next week, things like that. So, and then doing campaigns around those, because you know that people are going to be talking, they're going to be active, the press are looking for content. Pre-plan with awareness days. Press won't cover anything that's sort of, if you're in a week before, picture fonts before, sort of give them information about what you're planning, more obviously information about your charity, what your goals are, what the call to action is, and work with them to sort of shape a story around that. And press loves to shape a story, and the more information you can give them the more lead time that you can give them, the better. So I would suggest making sort of a calendar of key awareness days for your charity, that you think that would be good news hooks, and that you can create content around, that you can create stories around, that you can offer content for, and then sort of work through them. And maybe if there's any sort of key ones, sort of pre-plan, prepare, and share with your chosen list of journalists. Campaign launches. I love campaigns. I love running a charity campaign. The more controversial, the better. So last year I went up against the RSPCA with the Animal Rising charity, and a campaign we did called for Charlie, which was a pig that got rescued from a farm that was assured by the RSPCA Farming Assured Scheme, which is basically a certification that if your meat product has that stamp on it, means that your farming is sustainable and you good practice, and basically just not the case. And so we did a campaign with Animal Rising to sort of go up, not sort of ask the RSPCA to readdress the system and look at who they're certifying, and that worked really well. I think we got around 120 pieces of coverage off the back of that, and it led to some really cool endorsements from Brian May, Chris Packham. So that was really fun. So sort of if you have the power to do anything like that, it's a really good way to sort of get eyes on you, and awareness as well, and obviously also really cool PR. Advocacy and fundraising combined. So we do a lot around sort of open letters, petitions, anything like that sort of can drive change as well as drive donations at the same time, as well as awareness. There's a lot of petitions are great for that. And so whether you're petitioning, so with fluoride, we petition to remove the tampon tax. We petition for all public, all public toilets within a certain space to have free menstrual products for homeless women. So it was so stuff like that can get people talking, but also can help people understand what you are trying to achieve and what you're doing, and then able to do that to support that. So through the petitions that we did with Fluoride, we got predominantly a lot of product donations. We got partnerships with Boots and Hilton. It was really exciting. So I always recommend when I work with charities to sort of do those kind of petitions, do those open letters, ask the government for change that's in line with what you do, because it can be really effective. Partnership storytelling with brands, very similar to corporate, but sort of you can have more fun with them. So working with, so for example, with Fluoride, we work with Boots. We put donation boxes out. We Hilton's as well. So again, make sure they're aligned, make sure that they're relevant to what you do. They can help you achieve your goals, have clear sort of goals and strategies set out when working with brands and corporates. So make sure that you're achieving what you're looking to achieve. But you can create some really fun campaigns with brand partnerships, and sort of it helps you reach a wider audience, awareness as well, and again, gets those donations flowing. If it's relevant to you and your charity, urgency-driven appeals, crisis response, we see it all the time from charities. Whether that's sort of a celebrity asking for donations, or whether it's storytelling, human interest story, showcasing what you do, and who you support, and what you've done and what you've achieved, is always really good to get those like quick donations in, if you ever need them. And then charity to charity collaborations. So I'll talk more about this in a second, because I do think they're quite important, especially for smaller charities, because it helps you reach a wider audience, but also a wider audience that are already engaged with another similar charity, and is already supporting, so they're more likely to support you as well. So these are just a few ideas of fundraising strategies through PR. I'd love to know if you've ever tried anything like this, or if you ever had any successful campaigns. So I'd love to hear about them. As I said, charity collaborations. I've uh, I've actually just been interviewed by Charity Times about this from a PR point of view, and how they can help with PR and fundraising. So it came as sort of the nick of the time for the presentation. But so charity collaborations allow you to share the spotlight equally, balance visibility, raise equal awareness, and then you can co-create narratives and tell stories that center women and girls, and sort of work towards joint goals, and sort of joint ideas and campaigns as well, and sort of help, and it allows you to women as well, and that's the end goal, right? When working with charities, I'd recommend setting clear agreements, define your goals, your roles, your donation splits. Make sure that's all ironed out before you start working together, so you both know where you stand and there's no issues down the line, and you can just get on with the campaigns that you're developing. Sort of invest in a joint PR strategy or work on one, so you can both have consistent messaging across channels, because you obviously are both different charities. You both have different styles, you both have different ideas, you're both working in different spaces potentially. So making sure that those messages are aligned, understand, like helping sort of donors to understand the meaning and the point of the collaboration, why you're working together. And then when you're both talking about it on your separate channels, you're using the same tone, you're using the same language, you're using the same messaging. So it just creates that sort of joint, that consistency, and sort of allows that again, that connection that we're looking for. Because if you're both sort of sharing different, if you're both on different pages sharing different content, it just gets very muddled and people won't understand and they'll just switch off. But if they can see that you're literally working together very well, consistently, they're more likely to engage. Make sure that your missions and values are aligned. This will ensure genuine connection. If you're working with a different charity outside of the women and girls space, make it very clear why, and what you're hoping to achieve, and also why they're working with you and what they want to achieve through your charity. It's about connection, not convenience, and that's really important, is that you don't want it to sort of be seen as though we're working with a bigger charity because you want bigger donations, which is obviously the case, but why? What's the why in all of this? Why is so important when it comes to PR? Is it the what, the where, the how, but then the why is the storytelling, the why is the connection. If you can accurately portray the why, people won't need to ask the question. They will get it, and they'll engage, and that's really important. And then show collective impact. Create an impact report afterwards, and measure it afterwards. Sort of do a press piece about how the collaboration has been beneficial, the donations it's driven, what the if you're going to continue working together, what those goals are, how the collaboration has worked. So people love to see that side of things as well. They want to know that what you're doing is working, and also as well as if they've donated, like they want to know where those donations have gone and how they've worked and how they've supported. So it's just and it's really important to have that measured effect as well. So as I said, there's some case studies here. So FlowAid is my campaign. I've been running it since 2017. We have had a huge amount of impact. It's probably something I'm the most proud of. I did a TED talk on it in 2017 actually, which was talking about sort of the plight for homeless women without menstrual products, raising awareness of the topic. But then obviously the call to action was for people to donate products, for people to donate to other charities. We got interest off the back of that from various different organizations. It was really exciting. We've been featured across the board in coverage. The Guardian, Mashable, Metro, The Independent. We've had some amazing charity collaborations with Bloody Good Period, with The Monthly Gift. Who else have we worked with? We've worked with. I ended up giving a talk to a group of schoolgirls that flew over from San Francisco specifically for me to talk to them about menstruation and period poverty, and then we did a big product drive with them. It was really exciting, and then we were sort of part of the tampon tax removal, and we work with that side of things as well. So we have driven a lot of change through it. We've made a difference. We've broken stigmas. We've broken down taboos. I'm really, really proud of what we've achieved. Another charity that I work with, CamFed, they are a women's charity in Africa. Sorry, just have some water. Sorry. So they run a lot of sort of online campaigns. Most recent one we've done, the Sisterhood Pledge, where it was a very simple campaign where we put on a page up on the website where women could pledge to support women and girls' education, and support the charity. And we had some partners of the charity, celebrity partners, to pledge it as well. And then we reached out to other celebrities asking them to pledge. So what I go back to saying is that you don't need a huge PR team or budget or resources to do these, to have an impact. It can be something as simple as just pledge to our charity, pledge to support our cause. We'll keep you updated via email. We've got this person, we're reaching out to these people. It's as simple as that, and it can have such a profound impact. Also, as well, of all of the work that Angeline, the founder, has done, she was featured in Time 100's list this year. She's been endorsed, and the charity's been endorsed by Malala, Michelle Obama, Rihanna, Meghan Markle. And this all helps. And so, like, it's just about keeping her, like, everything active. So she's very active in what she does. She promotes everything. She talks about everything. She's constantly, like, the charity's constantly creating content. So it's just constantly out there. It's in the forefront. It's what I was saying about maintaining that momentum and driving that awareness and creating that consistency is what gets their donation. So and people are always, like, willing to support them. They've done loads of really cool campaigns. They've done corporate partnerships, they've done brand partnerships, charity collaborations. So there's just a really sort of a overall view of what everything that I've discussed about how it can be so successful. And I think through their campaigns they've raised hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds. And they're not a massive charity, they're a very small charity in Africa, and working in very specific countries in Africa and very specific areas. And Angeline herself was one of the girls that was supported through the charity and has now become the CEO. And so it's about sharing that story, having those stories and those sort of powerful moments that are really important. And we all have them. All the small charities have them, and it's so sometimes just about picking them out, and that's what a good PR strategy will do. So, and then we've got Bloody Good Period, which is one of my favorites. Done lots of work with them through Flow Aid and collaborations, and they are the absolute gods at creating really effective PR campaigns that get people talking. So they did something called the tampon macaroon a few years ago, and when they did flavored macaroons with edible strings attached to them, and they looked like tampons. They sold them per box. That did really well. That got loads of PR. They do the Bloody Good Employers, where they do corporate partnerships with employers who pledge towards period poverty and sort of reproductive health, menstrual health, women's rights, women's health. That's really good. They did they have the Bloody Funny comedy fundraisers. They do stand-up comedy shows, and they sell tickets that raise money. So again, it just goes back to sort of these little events, these little panels, these fun little things that you can do without needing sort of massive budgets. But it's just about being really creative from a PR point of view and campaign point of view. And again, it's that all of their campaigns are goals to raise awareness or raise funds. So again, it just goes back to that strategy, making sure everything's aligned, and then pushing it out there and sort of having that big impact. And then I put Animal Rising, which is the campaign that I worked on with the RSPCA, which I've just mentioned as well. So my practical PR tips to sort of help get the PR off the ground, to help achieve your goals, is prepare a media kit. So it goes back to sort of having the stats, the facts, case studies, stories, content, everything in one place that you can share with the press, that you can even share with donors, and sort of it's all of that, making sure that the journalists have everything that they need in one place. And it just goes back to having, like what I was talking about, pre-preparing and time leads and things like that, and giving them everything that they need all at once is going to increase your chances of PR. One thing I haven't actually put on here, as I've spoken a lot about it, is build a PR strategy before you do anything. PR strategy is a blueprint for your PR. It builds the foundation of the entire PR, and it allows you to understand sort of what your goals are. It gives you your key audience, and you probably already have this information already. But then, so say if you have it all in one place, for example, so your key audience is 18 to 25-year women and girls that live in the UK, that are in the care, have been through the care system. This is obviously just the top of my head. And then you can say, okay, well, we know we want them to be in these publications. These are the journalists that write about that. This is our media list. These are our ideas to help attract this media. This is the content that they write about. So it's having all of that information, and will allow you to sort of really target your PR efforts, and really sort of make sure that you're approaching the right people, and the people that are going to want to talk about what you're doing. And then also in the strategy, sort of understand sort of, okay, this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to have either different phases, or we're going to do it through content or stories, or we've got this amazing research campaign, or we're going to do this play like this. These are the campaigns that we're going to build. So it just helps shape everything, and it gives you a really clear picture of where you're going to take your PR, and how it help you attract those donors. And then build a bank of story assets, again with the media kit. So making sure that you have photos, videos, endorsements, quotes, anything that sort of visually impactful that you have or you can gather, is also going to boost your efforts. First, love a video. So anything that's sort of like short videos, short form videos work really well if you can offer something like that. And then it also means as well that allows you to go to social media editors and say, look, let's do a social media campaign. We've got this reel. It's got the potential to do something. Don't make it overly promotional, but these are our goals. Let's see how we can work for your social team. It just gives you access to those different avenues as well, rather than beyond the more traditional PR routes. Nurture journalist and influencer relationships. So I always say is that it's not always about pitching your ideas or pitching for press. It's about just sharing information with them. Just once you've put your strategy together in your media list, say, hey, like let's pick like the 10 top journalists off the list and just introduce ourselves and just let them know they're here, what we're doing. They may not be writing about something now, but if they're writing about it sort of in a few weeks from now on women's rights, and you've emailed them and you're having a conversation with them, they're going to think about you and they're going to include you. They're going to talk about your charity. They're going to talk about what you're doing. So it's just about sort of like just dipping in every now and then saying, hi, we're still here. This is what we're doing. Oh, we've just had this massive raise, or we're doing this campaign, or this has just happened. We just wanted to update you. And then, or like a lot of journalists, like especially if you're based in London, they love a coffee. Invite them out for a coffee. As I said, invite them into the charity, the office or something, and say, come and check us out. Come and see what we're doing. You'll love it. It's great. See it for yourself. So it's like those, just, yeah, it's exactly what you would do with sort of like bigger donators and corporates, is that just get to know them, like invite them into your world so you can build that relationship. And once you have that relationship, obviously there's no guarantee that they're ever going to feature you, but they're more likely to if that relationship is there. And when it comes to PR, it's like always have that call to action. Is that even if it's not a promotional piece, even if it's just an op-ed, just put it at the bottom and say, donate here, or this is what we're trying to achieve, or this is our goal. If you're doing an interview, talk about it in the interview. Obviously on the podcast, it's easier. But just make sure that call to action is always there, even in your content that you're creating, even if it's just in the caption, donate here. it's just making sure that that call to action is always prominent and always present and it's always in the forefront of people's minds. And then show the impact, urgency, and hope. So, what is the impact of your charity? What is the impact that you're having? Why is the need for donations urgent? So add that urgency. It's like we need them now because this is happening now. This is what we're going to do with your donations within the next 3 weeks. Like, and then hope is like, what are your donations going to do? This is what we really hope to achieve. This is what we're trying to do, and we're going to do it with your donations. How are you making the world a better place for women? What are you so give that like positive. It doesn't, like, a lot of the charity videos can often be a bit doom and gloom, which is fine because that's the way of the world, but add that little bit of hope, being like, yeah, it is like this, but it could be like this, and with your help, like, you can do something really, really amazing and make a big difference if you donate. Like, really show them the future. It's like, what's the 5-year plan? And again, relay that to press as well. It's like, yeah, we're doing this now, but in 5 years, is if we do this now, this is what it's going to look like in 5 years. Like, they love a future because it means that they can continue they want to create content that's going to be still relevant, evergreen content, I call it. They want content that's going to be relevant in 5 years. They don't want content that's not going to be relevant in 3 days. It's a bit like, yeah, we're doing this now and things will change, but this is what we're hoping to achieve in 5 years with what we're doing now. So give them the steps, show them the plan.
Oh, I think we may Haley's frozen again. Um, I don't know, Beth has.
I hope that will make sense. Been through most of it. See you.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
Can you
Sorry.
hear me?
Hey, yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Am I still sharing?
yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So avoiding pitfalls. So again, sort of poverty porn. Don't exploit the stories, but use stories that to empower, use stories to excite, to even ignite some inspiration in them. And sort of ideas in them, some like, because you also as well as like, you want them to be engaging with your charity beyond donations as well. You want them to be sharing, you want them to be talking about their friends or other potential donors. So like, use those stories for them to be like, look, like, you need to listen to this is amazing, or wow, this is a real issue, I wasn't aware of this. Oh, this, that they've really helped this woman, they've really helped this group of women. Oh my gosh, like, what they're doing for children's education. Like, you want to spark conversations. Like, I always say, like, a lot of people ask me, is like, how do we create viral content? It's like, it's no real science to it, but it's like, what would you want people to be talking to your chat about your charity if they were talking to their friends in the pub? It's just like, it's that, just that conversation is like, oh my god, like, I watched this content today, I saw this story, I read this article, and it's like really made me feel this. Like, what do you want them to make them feel in order to spark that conversation? So like, really use those stories to do that. And sort of what you're doing, what you're achieving. That's sort of the best way I can describe that, is like, what do you want people, it's like, if people are talking about your charity, what do you want them to be saying? um and again, it just goes back to keep narratives community led, not donor centered. So sort of, you don't want to be sharing donor stories, you want to be sharing the stories that the donations are helping, because that's going to get more donations. It's like, for sure, like, donors can talk about why they donated, but you, again, it goes back to the why. It's like, we donated because, well, share the because. So share the story that got them to donate. Don't share them talking about the story, if that makes sense. And then again, this is what we've spoken about the entire presentation, is just align the PR campaigns and fundraising goals, have that call to action. Make sure that you have clear goals in mind whenever you develop campaigns or PR content, and push towards those. Again, it goes back to having a strong strategy at the very beginning. And then when you're chasing coverage, when you're expecting coverage to come out, and trust me when I say this, is again, the lead times between you submitting coverage and it being published is getting longer because of various different things. But don't chase coverage without a strategy, because it just annoys people. And a lot of journalists, like, if you're speaking to someone that isn't an editor, they don't know when it's going to be published. So when you're following up, don't be like, hi, just chasing the coverage. When's it going to be later? We're like, hey, we know we've got coverage coming out. We've got this extra additional bit if you're interested. Oh, we just wanted to update you on what we've done. Oh my God, we've just had this amazing donation, or we've just helped this person. We've got this new story. So give them something different, because they may not be able to include it in the piece, but they will probably be able to include it in other pieces, and they'll be grateful for the additional information. So never just be like, hi, just chase in, just have a strategy, and then measure impact. It's so important when you're measuring impact, not just internally and externally as well. So like when you're doing collaborations, partnerships, campaigns, advocacy, anything, is just keep track of that, like measure the impact. So keep track of mentions, keep track of shares, keep track of readership, press pieces, and put it all into a document. If you want to create sort of a PR impact report at the end of it, then great. If you just want to use it to sort of like create bigger donations and corporate interest, that's really useful for that. You like include endorsements, supporter quotes, the media reach, how it has affected donation spikes, and it just sort of, and again, like the social engagement versus the conversion. So if people are sharing, how many of those people are donating, how many people are just clicking on your donation links, what are the conversations being had around it. It just, like, even internally, it's so important to be able to see the momentum and the results of the PR, and whether or not it's having a positive impact. And if you do everything that I said in the presentation, it will have an incredibly positive impact. It just allows you to sort of see, and it allows you to sort of then look at the strategy as well, and like go back to the beginning and say, right, okay, we've done, say, for example, like a 3-month campaign, or we've been doing PR for 3 months, like compared to the strategy, what's worked, what hasn't, what do we need to change, how do we make it adapt? Okay, this bit's worked really well, let's do more of this. What journalists have engaged with us? All it, like, it's that information is going to be really helpful into sort of keeping that consistent momentum of PR going, especially when you have small teams and budgets. And then, yeah, so the call to action is entirely obviously up to you as a charity. PR is great for raising funds, shifting perceptions. Let women and girls lead the narrative. Let the women and the girls that you're helping, that you're supporting, lead the narrative when it comes to PR. It just goes back to that storytelling. And then, yeah, invest in consistent PR for sustainable fundraising. I don't mean hiring an agency or something like that. Just sort of invest your time, build the strategy, hire someone if you do need to do it properly. PR training for the team. There's various different ways that you can build on your PR without having to sort of put down loads and loads of money. So yeah, this is just sort of like a roundup of everything that we've discussed. And yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope that you've taken a lot away from it and it all made sense. I look forward to hearing your questions.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Hayley.
Hayley. That was really, really interesting, and lots of great tips there for charities to take away. I know that we did have a couple of questions that came through, so we'll try to run through those whilst we can. So first is generally getting in front of the media, so they might consider talking about our cause and campaign. If journalists have previously approached us for supporting something they're running, would you suggest it's okay to go back to them now when you might need their support?
Yeah, I think if a journalist has expressed interest or reached out to you in the past or on a previous campaign, absolutely go back to them, because they already have that invested interest. You know that them coming to you is that they're writing about your beat, they're writing about similar things. So yeah, absolutely, and just sort of keep, again, goes back to that sort of follow up with strategy. Just give them information, let them know what you're doing, and then help them shape the story. But yeah, absolutely, go back to them.
Thank you. And we had another one around a charity saying they normally get ignored when reaching out to influencers, businesses, and celebs. What are they doing wrong, and do you have any tips?
Oh, bane of my life. It's just make sure that readjust sort of what you're reaching out to them with, and what you're providing. If it's too commercial or promotional, making sure that they're definitely 100% aligned with you. Again, just follow up the strategy as well. Just go back and say, hey, I know we've reached out to you. We just want to let you know this. We want to see if you're interested, and we've got this to share. I keep on it. If you're someone that you genuinely want to work with, or you think that they're going to be really aligned, just sort of keep on it. Like with the Sisterhood Pledge, it took a while for celebs to come back. Um, and also as well, it's just sort of like if you have any PR, if you have any sort of social proof that you can share with them and say, look, like we do have momentum. This is what we're doing. This is who you can help and support. Sort of again, treat them like the press. Show them sort of like and donate. Treat them like donors, I should say. It's like share with them like how are they going to so if you're sharing a story with donors and saying this is what your donations can help, do the same with influencers. Share a story and say this is what you could support. This is the difference you could be making. As much as I hate to say it, it's like when it comes to influencers, feed their ego a little bit and say like that they all want to make a difference. They all want to do something different. How are they going to do that? Sort of give them like don't make it about you, make it about them.
And yeah, just to add to that, I would say, don't be discouraged. In this industry, you get a lot more no's than you do yeses, but
Oh,
it's very
absolutely.
much about persistence. And I think as well, just one thing to add to that, maybe just start small. We always have big dreams of, we want David Attenborough involved in our campaign and things, and we have all of these big, amazing stars. But sometimes it's just about reaching out to,
Yep.
businesses working in a local area or an influencer who's only got a few thousand followers at the moment, but they're active with people in your community and people in your community enjoy watching them. And then once you start to build up a portfolio of people
Mm-hmm.
who are interested in you, then you have a bit more credibility with those bigger names and bigger brands.
No, 100%. I completely agree with that. And it can be very discouraging when you're getting crickets. But just keep pushing. But yeah, micro influencers can be just as powerful. And what I'd say now is like social media is a whole different presentation coming up on that. But is that look at engagement rates on influencers because following like someone could have like 300 followers, but be getting sort of thousands and thousands of views on their video content. So go out to them. They don't need to have hundreds of thousands of followers. It's just look at their engagement rates. And yeah, micro influencers can have so much, as much as an impact, if not more, in my opinion, sometimes than the bigger influencers. Niche audience, niche content. They can work out very well for you, and exactly that. Build it up. Sort of don't reach for the sky straight away.
Okay. We have two questions, so I'm going to try and whiz through them. But there's firstly from Kirsty, which says, I work for a charity that supports survivors of sexual violence, working with women, men, and children. We are always looking for support with fundraising, but I find it difficult to keep talking about rape or sexual violence when it is still a really taboo subject and trying to find the right way to share a message that attracts funders, but also survivors too. Do you have any advice there?
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. And again, it just goes back to what I was saying about the hope in the messaging. It's sort of like talk about what your hope is for the charity. It's like what would happen if you donated, and in so sort of what's your hope for the future when it comes to domestic violence? What's your hope for the future when it comes to sexual assault? What change needs to be made? So I think, yeah, it's just share the sort of like it's hard to be positive in that space. I understand that. But you could be hopeful and sort of like share that hope with them and say, look, if you donate or your donations are going to go towards this hopeful future that we foresee. Like make it like don't make it about the now, make it about like what you envision the donations to help in 5 years.
And maybe as well trying to share kind of the voices of all of the people that you are supporting. So I imagine, you won't be able to give names or anything like that, but they might be able to share a range of really good quotes that share just how much your charity has had an impact on their life or made a difference for them. And you're able to share those stories of impact to people. And those voices generally are what will make people want to donate and want to support you as well.
Perfect. Yep.
And final question here. I work for Women for Women International. We help women survivors of war across the world. We have a lot of issues when it comes to topics relevant in politics, i.e. Israel and Palestine, Ukraine and Russia, as have to keep neutral, but can be difficult, especially when supporters have strong opinions slash values on the topic. Do you have any advice there?
Sorry, can you repeat the last bit of the question, please?
Yeah, so they're saying they have to keep neutral because of these contentious topics, but it can be difficult, especially when supporters have strong opinions slash values on topics.
Yeah, it just goes back to training and messaging, and just make sure that everyone's putting out the same messaging and on the same page. You can't help people's opinions. You can't change them, and people will have opinions. It's just making sure that if they are being voiced, or if you do need to keep neutral, just make sure the messaging is aligned and approved before anything is sent out.
Thank you, Hayley. I think that is all the questions. I'll just give it to Beth to wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, Hayley. Again, really amazing presentation. Lots of tips for us to take away. And just a reminder to all charities that this has been recorded, so you'll be able to review it after the session as well on our YouTube channel. And as Sahil mentioned slightly earlier on, we do have 2 more webinars coming up this week, so please do join us for those. But in the meantime, have a lovely rest of the afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks.